Welcome. My name is Dennis, and I will be your worship associate for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. We're also known as UUFCC. Now, first, I would like you to please silence your phones, and I will try my best to remind you to turn them back on after the service. It may be apparent by now, it's our practice to identify folks by first names and, when necessary, last initials. This way, it protects your privacy because this service is being broadcast on the UUFCC channel of YouTube. So our first hymn is Building a New Way. It's number 1017 in the Teal Book. And so if you will rise in body or spirit.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hidden greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feel our every need. We can feel our every need. We can feel our every need. Start with love that is the seed. We can feel our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
I wish to express my gratitude to Corey and Doug and Tom for supporting our technology. We are also so grateful for our music director, Margaret, and for all my choir mates. Thanks to our greeters and those who create and clean up after our post-service gathering. I'm especially grateful to introduce this morning's guest speaker, Dr. Martha R. Bireda. She's a writer, a lecturer, and a living history performer. She has over 30 years' experience as a lecturer, consultant, and trainer for issues related to race, class, and gender. She has worked with educators, law enforcement, business, and civic leaders. Dr. Bireda is the director of Blanchard House Museum of African American History and Culture of Charlotte County. It's located in Punta Gorda. Following the service, copies of her book will be available for sale in the fellowship hall. And the book is Reflections of a Colored Girl. And is there another book, or is it same title? Yes.
values. And then I have a little fiction one written by C.W. Long. It's about a numbers man.
Wonderful. And they'll be available in the social hall after the service. You're welcome here at UUFCC, no matter who you are or who you love, no matter where you come from, your background, or your spiritual journey. We come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, different backgrounds. But despite our differences, here at UUFCC, we are building community by supporting each other's spiritual growth. Here we explore new ideas, ask important questions, and nurture one another. I hope that you will find something that you need here: comfort, connection, challenge, love. I'm glad you're here. Now, if you're here for the first time, or there's a few folks here that are returning after a long time, would you please tell us who you are and stand and wait until Doug brings the microphone. And tell us your name and where you're from. And remember, use your last initial. Are there folks, new folks here?
Hello.
Hi, everybody. This is Rachel Plukas and Jonah Howe.
Yeah.
Yep. We're visiting from up in Massachusetts, where we attend the First Universalist Society in Franklin. I'm so very happy to join you guys from up north and sending down some peace from you for you.
Welcome. Thank you. How about the returnees? Mm-hmm.
Say hi.
Hi, I'm Pat Pryor-Bonaker, returning again this year, and I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm Don, and I came along with Pat, and it's about nice to be back.
And now, we're going to light the chalice, please. Now, please join me in reciting our recitation that's in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Good, good. All right, now Margaret will play the prelude. It's an improvisation on Nobody Knows. Our opening words this morning are entitled Unto the Church Universal. And it was written by Kehab Hagra Sen, but it was arranged by John Haynes Holmes. Unto the Church Universal, which is the depository of all ancient wisdom and the school of all modern thought, which recognizes in all prophets a harmony, in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity, which abjures all the separates and divides, and always magnifies and unifies that which brings peace, which seeks truth and freedom, justice and love, and individual discipline in social duty, and which shall make of all sects, classes, nations, and races one global community. Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world, we pledge the allegiance of our hands and our hearts. We acknowledge the sacredness of life by sharing our joys and sorrows and life milestones by entering them into the book of life. The messages can be written in the red book, and usually it's found at the back of the sanctuary on the table as you come in. And would someone please bring it forward? Thank you. The messages read in the red book, you can send these, if you're not going to be in attendance, you can send these to Book of Life at UUFCC.org, and we need to receive those by Saturday afternoon. This morning, this is a note from Debbie C., and if you don't know, she's moving. Being a part of UUFCC has been a privilege and a very important part of my life. I have made some lifelong friends and will miss you all. Love and peace to all, Debbie. In addition to sharing through the Book of Life, you may come forward and drop a stone into a bowl of water. Each stone represents a joy or sorrow, and the water represents the love and care of this community. We do not need to speak during this ritual, but are encouraged to share the blessings and challenges. Please tell us your first name and briefly the nature of your joy or concern. Please speak into the microphone. Yes.
I wanted everyone to know how much I appreciate where, am I speaking into the microphone?
That's not wireless. Try it again.
Hello, hello? Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Houston, are you there? Try it now.
Hello? I just want everyone to know two things. One is how grateful I have been for all the people who have shown kindness and attention to Jonathan during his journey of getting his heart repaired. So he goes forward on that journey this coming week. On Tuesday, he goes to the hospital, and on Wednesday they do the procedure and everything goes right. On Thursday, he'll come back home. So I will be there and I'll keep you informed. my second joy is to be here the same day that Martha Bireda is going to be here because I didn't pronounce her name right. Bireda, not Birota. I'll get it straight. She has inspired me to participate in the museum that she has been leading for a long time, and she'll tell you more about that later, but I'm grateful for her friendship. Thank you.
I have a concern and then a joy. My concern is Peggy Don, my wife. She's in the hospital. She had carotid artery surgery. She had exploratory surgery last Monday to see how they were going to proceed. And then after the surgery, she had to go into ICU, and she got out of ICU very late yesterday. And I expect her to possibly come home today. So if my phone rings, I'll leave. But my joy is I'm here today and I see Martha Bireda. This is my twin from Punta Gorda. We're not identical, but we're still twins.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I have two joys. One is last Wednesday, we had a birthday party for our choir director, and it was so much fun. We really had a great time. And my second joy is the fact that my beloved Pat is here today, and Martha.
My name is Lori, and after a long year of waiting, patiently waiting, tomorrow, back surgery. I can't wait to have it done and over. So I'd appreciate good thoughts and prayers my way.
I never seen someone so excited about surgery. Hello, I'm Corey. I have a joy. So Friday I took off from work to do the wedding rehearsal at my sister's venue, and yesterday her and her new husband tied the knot. I, however, did not expect it to be an emotional roller coaster for me. Thank God all the groomsmen were wearing glasses.
Okay, this is Debbie, and I told Sally I could do this without crying, but I don't know. I wanted to present her with flowers from all of us. She's been such a support. She's chaired the Caring Committee, Hospitality Committee for years, and then even when she stepped down, she co-chaired for Helen and Jackie, and she co-chaired with me and got countless exhibits up. She's helped on the decorating committee. She's helped in the office, and she's just been a support for so many people. And we're gonna miss her, but we're happy she's going out to her family in California and things are falling in place. She sold her house and she got a place out there and she's doing good. So, yeah. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I love you guys, and I'm going to miss you so much. I just hope I can find a place out there that's as loving as you guys are. Thank you.
She will, because she's a loving person.
Good morning. I'm Patrick E. I have a concern and a joy. My concern is my spouse, Michael. On Friday, he was seeing things, thought it was a bug. Well, he's having a bleed by his retina. So thankfully, he could go to a retina specialist that day. So she's going to follow up with him on Tuesday. So it's bleeding there, like the gelatin and the retina, that's where it's happening. And my joy was yesterday I went to the Winter Garden Presbyterian Church for their dinner fundraiser, and it was good to see Alan was there. And PFLAG, our LGBTQ support group, has an association with that Presbyterian church. They reached out to us because they wanted to be more inclusive. So they give to over 500 family meals every week. So they only have like 48 in their congregation, but they have a huge kitchen. And Reverend Devin, she is good at grant writing, I heard. So that's why they had to do the fundraisers to continue their outreach. So they do wonderful things like our fellowship does. So it's happy we have this association. Yeah.
Hello, I'm John P. I have a joy and a concern, and a joy off that concern. So my first joy is that my sister gave birth to her second daughter this week. So thank you. She's back in Idaho. I get to go visit here in a few months, and I miss them so much. My concern also is that I have 3 daughters, and when my sister was pregnant, she thought and I thought that we were going to have 4 more years of, stability and progress, hopefully. But what we're getting is some really scary rhetoric for women out there. And so my sister has just dealt with this so well. We thought about, okay, I guess we're just going to leave the country, right? Because this is, and I'm sure so many of you have thought about that too, but then, you come around to reality. And so here's my joy. My joy is that this has shocked me into realizing that I can't... The only way we're going to get through this is with each other. And that's something I'm realizing now. And so that's my joy. And my wife's here with me today, and our daughters are at home. But I just want to say thank you to this group, because it's only been about a month I've been here. But, man, really feel good when I'm here. So really feel at peace. So, thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph, and I'm glad to be here today. I have a t-shirt that I wear from time to time. It's a picture of a chimpanzee, and it says on it, my cousin 44,000 times removed. And Jane Goodall's birthday is coming up. She's a famous primatologist, anthropologist. She has studied primates her entire career, and I've watched many of her movies. And what I love about her work is she brings to life what it's like to be primates, these cousins that are so close to us. And they deserve respect, and they deserve to be protected. And they are a sentient being that really we should embrace and protect. So I'm thinking about Jane Goodall, and I'm glad that she had a presence in this world and raised our awareness. So thank you.
I have a sorrow to share. My close friend, Tony D., who's been fighting fighting with ICE for the last 2 years. He's been incarcerated for over 2 years now in first Miami and then Louisiana. But he was deported Thursday. I got word that he arrived in St. Lucian's Friday early morning. And at this point, we can't figure out how we're going to interact besides mail. So I feel very sad. In some ways, glad that it's all that imprisonment, that horrible imprisonment, is over. But the future looks dark for him, and I'm worried. So. And now I'll ask Dick if he will come forward and put in the last stone. This stone, may it represent our unspoken joys and sorrows in our hearts. May we also hold one another in love and tenderness, so that this fellowship may continue to be a source of strength, comfort, and hope in the days and weeks ahead. Let us take a moment of meditation. And now it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Bireda to come forward.
It does work, doesn't it? It does work. Good morning. It has been a little bit of a while since I have been over here. I have attended classes here and have taught classes, but it's been a while. And so I just really thank you so much, Dennis, for inviting me to come over. And just these few minutes that I've been here, I know we talked about joys and sorrows, but I had this sense of joy just listening to the first hymn, Building a New Way, because I think it is just so appropriate, building a new way. And then the second line of that, we are working to be free. What we're going to talk about today is human completeness. And if we follow the rules for human completeness, we can free ourselves from much of the culturally conditioned narrative that has been placed in our heads and in our society. If we live in this country, if we grew up here, all of us have had to deal with it. And so I really thank you again for the invitation. Some of you may have heard my Reflections of a Colored Girl on WGCU. And it's my experiences and my lessons during the Jim Crow period. And during that whole time, there was this deficit narrative, especially about us colored, that we were intellectually, culturally, and morally inferior. There were laws and there are customs that govern both the beliefs and the behaviors of whites and colored. States' rights, which you're hearing about right now, that was the norm. And with states' rights, that's where people lose their rights, okay? But that's what we're hearing now. And under states' rights, legalized segregation and discrimination. Is this doing something here? Yeah. Okay, I thought so. Now, the key word that I want you to remember as we go through this is place, okay? whenever I mention place, I want you to think about place. And place, okay, you want me to stop for a minute? Oh, place is where we are, or where we're supposed to be. And when growing up in Jim Crow, place was where we colored were supposed to know where we are and where we're supposed to stay in our place. Now, there were laws that said your place, you can go in this door, that door, drink out of this fountain. There were also sometimes people who needed to remind you of your place, and they might walk in front of you when you're standing in line or ask you to get off a sidewalk. And for us colored who forgot our place, there were always the lynching parties. And so that was about place. So why Jim Crow? All right, I grew up in this. Why do we have it? This is a little bit of a history lesson, but in the late 1690s, because of something called Bacon's Rebellion, you can look it up, the concept of whiteness and blackness as its opposite were created. Believe it or not, in 1619, when the first Africans came, there were no white people on the colonies. There were no white people. There were British people, German people, Christians. There were no white people. Because the elite needed to control black minds and black bodies and white minds, the concept of whiteness and blackness was created. And so what happened with that? This is psychological. To help people who had white skin feel psychologically superior, whiteness was at the top of the racial hierarchy, and of course, color or blackness was at the bottom. And in order to rationalize this and to keep it going, there were almost 400 years of deficit narrative, those three inferiorities, and which meant that color deserved the lowest rank because of that inferiority. And as a superior race, then white should dominate the society. And so, as it was created, whiteness and blackness controlled black bodies and white minds. Then we had Civil War, we had Reconstruction. Well, the first fear. Now, right now, there's a pervasive fear in this society. A segment of the society is just almost scared to death. And of course, just as we heard from about your friend, there's an undercurrent of fear, that consciousness of fear that's in other people too. But there's a segment in the society that is really fearful. And so how did this come about? Reconstruction. Reconstruction with the amendments, black men could vote, they could hold office, and the fear, the great fear was of black control. And so, in order to restore the place of whites on the social hierarchy, Jim Crow was created to restore place. Place is very important here. And so for about 100 years, we had that, and then we know about 60 years ago we had the Civil Rights Movement and blah, 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 and all of that. I'm almost 80 years of age, and I know what Jim Crow is like. I know what it feels like. I know what people say and what people do and attitudes. And those attitudes, the overt attitudes, are coming back. There is this sense of fear in the society. The consciousness now is a consciousness of fear, pervasive. And unfortunately, it is spreading furiously throughout our population. Now, one of the fear came up with when Obama was elected president, okay? So that started some of the fear. However, right now, that's not the greatest fear. 2008, a report came out that said that by 2050, America would be a nation of minorities. and it will be the browning of America. Well, let me tell you now, it's not so much black control, but the fear of brown control and the fear of replacement, the loss of power and control, the loss of place in American society. And so we are seeing, of course, we still see violence against blacks, but mass shootings of Latinos. We see violence against Muslims, as well as blacks. But I tell you the most disturbing thing about me, and I'm happy that the children are here today because our young people need to hear about how to have human completeness. Thank you for bringing your children. The most disturbing thing for me is what I'm seeing and hearing with our children, our next generation. For a little girl to be told, just, her skin is brown, she speaks Spanish, her classmates turn against her. Go back to Mexico, she's American. That kind of thing is happening. The kind of violence against Muslims. You belong to a different religion. You're not a Christian. Those kinds of things. The fear that these brown people, be their religion, their language, that somehow they're going to take over. That to me is probably the most disturbing thing about what's going on now. So there is a need for a restorative consciousness, a consciousness of human completion. That's the only way to restore our sense of humanity. And so what happens is, what I'm going to talk about for a few minutes today is our individual obligation. See, because our individual consciousness can grow into group consciousness. And when that happens, then we can truly feel our humanity. Without human completeness, going through these things, we're not fully human. I'm just going to say it just like that. We're going to be fully human. We have got to have these beliefs and attitudes. And it's not something that you do, go and have some reflection this afternoon and it's all over. It's work. To become fully human requires work. And so, first of all, consciousness is the state of being where we are aware of and responsive to our internal and external constraints, okay? So I'm just going to go spend a few minutes just talking about what is human completion. Believe it or not, human completion is the very highest stage of human development. It's kind of in our spiritual and religious quest, that's where we want to be, the highest stage of human development. And in human completion, we experience and we express empathy and compassion. And also, in order to have empathy and compassion, we have to be free of erroneous beliefs that separate me from other human beings. Can't get to empathy and compassion unless I'm free of those beliefs. Now, the other part of that, the main part, is when experiencing human completeness, we have to see individuals rather than looking at people and binding them to some monolithic stereotype. And I can give you an example of something I learned so many years ago, it was over 50 years ago, about seeing an individual versus seeing a person related to a group. It was back, if some of you can remember, when the Hong Kong flu was coming. I was in Michigan. I was in Detroit. And I have to say that truly the rebellion did come about because of the abuse of police of the black community. However, when I got there, folks have said, Martha, you got to be afraid of these police, and especially these Polish policemen. If you see that ski in the end of their name, you better know, you better watch out. So that's my belief, okay? So Polish police, that was it. All right, Hong Kong flu. Black guy that was with me, Larry, had Hong Kong flu. It was me, another girl, Gwen, and we were driving to Florida. Got right outside of Toledo on 75. Had a flat tire. I stop, and who drives up but a trooper? And guess what is at the end of his name? S.K.I. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't see him as an individual. I saw he is one of those Polish policemen. And so quickly, I started to make excuses, which weren't excuses, to say why this black man was lying down in the back of the car, this lazy black man, why he wasn't up changing the tire. I felt I had to do that because I'm looking at this mass. I'm looking at this Polish policeman. He said, "Ma'am, get back in the car." He changed the tire. And three things kind of happened when he's doing that. First, I had to confront myself that I did not see a human being or individual. I saw Polish policemen. I had to challenge that because he was an individual. He was not the mass. And then, so I had to change my view that every time maybe I saw a policeman with SKI, I had to see him as an individual. I couldn't make judgments about it. I ended up writing 2 letters of commendation for him. And let me tell you what I didn't do, though, because sometimes when we think we're doing the best thing, I didn't say, I'm commending this friendly, respectful Polish policeman. See, when we do that, we say, oh, how intelligent a person is, or how nice they are, then we really are back to the stereotype. So I just commended this man who was wonderful. That was an experience way back then that I learned. And if we can choose, we can see individuals rather than see them as representing their group, then we can think critically, which I had to learn to do. We can think independently of indoctrination. I've been indoctrinated. We can think independently of that. And we can be open to growth and change. So that is very, very important, that third step. Now, human completeness, key point again, empathy. And compassion, that's what we have to have. Now, empathy, of course, is that quality or ability to share the feelings of another person. This is one of the most important attributes that a human being can have. Einstein said that seeing, appreciating, and patiently seeing the world through somebody else's eyes, that is empathy. And so, when I look at what's happening, how do we feel? Can you put yourself in somebody else's place when they went to work on Wednesday and they get the notice that on Friday they are fired? Can you put yourself in their place? Can you put yourself in the place of a person that absolutely needs health care, they've got a condition if they don't get some help, but you find out your state is not going to take the money so they can have Medicaid. Can you put yourself, what does that feel like when I'm sick, but I know I can't get the help I need? Can you put yourself in the place, and I've seen these women out of the Bread of Life, Judy runs. You are almost 80-year-old woman, almost my age, and you're homeless? Can you put yourself, what does it feel like to be homeless at 80? And I think mostly because I am a parent. Can you imagine what it's like to look in the face of your child who has not had enough to eat, to see hunger in your child's face? Yeah, you get your food stamps and you can go and get some free food, but it's quite not enough. And the meals that your child got at school, they got free breakfast and free lunch. But you hear that your legislature is not going to take the money so they can have that. What does it feel like to look in your child's face and know that they are still hungry? Can we put ourselves there? Can we do that? Now, compassion is deep sympathy, sorrow, and concern about the suffering of another. Can we, after developing some sense of empathy, can we have some concern about how we might go off to help them? Can we see them as deserving? The first time I went to the homeless coalition, and I'm probably not the only person to feel this way. I expected to see a group of men who probably weren't working, many of them on drugs. That's not what I saw at the homeless coalition getting dinner. I saw families. I saw men and women who were working jobs who did not make enough money to buy their children food that had to eat there. I had that impression, though, that wiping it all without looking at individuals. And so, in the state of human completeness, we are free of the influence of cultural conditioning, be it be about race, ethnicity, class, religion, gender, all of that. We are free of the cultural conditioning that everybody in this room has been subject to. We all had. We've had 400 years of cultural conditioning. Now we got it. Religion, okay? History, social science, popular culture, the media, and even in our education system. And also, back in the day, in advertising. So, it is impossible to develop those necessary traits, empathy and compassion for completeness, if our core beliefs about the other, the person different from us, if those beliefs do not change. The source of strife that we are experiencing in this country are the result of culturally conditioned beliefs. These beliefs prevent us from being fully human. They prevent our being fully human. And they are obstacles to achieving these so-called ideals that we have in America. Ideals are just aspirations, and we talk about freedom and justice and equality. But that is different. Those are written somewhere. Those are different from reality and expressing and experiencing human completeness. Those ideals, what I do personally, how I believe personally, are two very different things. So very quickly, some steps. The first step in the journey, we are all on a journey to human completions. We have to, each one of us, even though where we think our heads are, we still need to reflect and examine and rid ourselves of any beliefs that separate us from others. Any beliefs that separate us. And we may think we're okay, but we still need to do that reflection. Now, just like I had to confront my beliefs about the Polish policeman, we have to challenge those beliefs about what we think about that person, and we have to change them. So if I see a Muslim, a woman wearing the headgear, my first thought, because I've been television, all of this, I can't say, oh my God, I wonder if she's a terrorist. I see a Mexican, because of the cultural condition, oh, I bet he's illegal. If I see a black man, I bet he's selling drugs. And if I see a white man, I wonder if he's a racist. All of that has to go out of our cultural conditioning. Now, the journey also has something called intentionality. That's the quality, the state of our beliefs or thoughts or feelings. And we have to, when intentionality means action, okay? So not merely stating our desire for a peaceful society, we have to put our energy and our emotions and our spirit behind becoming a fully human person. Human completion, let me tell you, is the solution to healing the racial strife in our country, the class divisions in our country, and even philosophical differences that we hold in the society. Right now, we see them. We're experiencing right now extreme changes, many of us see in our government society. And there's just this pervasive anxiety among everybody, but then there's that fear among certain group of people who are afraid of losing place. And so we have to ask ourselves, and this is about us who may feel that we're right about what we're doing, am I open to letting go of the need to be right, to find a sense of well-being and peace in our society? This is really key here because it goes along with that fear. Am I willing to release feelings related to zero sum, that ideology? If that person wins, I lose. Okay? That person, if they get that job, then I won't get it. They're getting something they don't deserve that I should have. We've got to get rid of that zero sum, that if somebody else gets something, you know, if I vote against health care because I think some immigrant's gonna get some health care and vote against it for myself, come on, that's zero sum. Makes no sense. Am I willing to listen to the words of inequality that others express? How would I feel about it? If a person says, you know, just because of my color or my language or my gender, I didn't get that job. Am I willing to feel for that person? Now, especially because I've kind of heard it, I kind of know a little bit about this congregation. I know that you may have some very different political views. I've heard them already this morning from folks who may have other views. And so I'm gonna say this to you. Am I willing to listen to those with whom I disagree? And if I listen to them, I am going to hear their fear of loss of status or perceived power in this country. Understanding that those fears are being created right now so that people don't come together. They are created to manipulate and control the minds. So let me say, neighbors, family members, you have very different political views, very different. Do not lecture. Do not lecture them. Ask what they are afraid of losing. What are you afraid of? What is the worst that can happen if the browning of America takes place? How will it impact you personally? Don't lecture. Ask questions. Fill out their fears, because that's all it's about, folks. What's happening now is about nothing but fear. Help them talk to the finest point that you can get them to talk to about their fears. So, most critically, as I've said before, do we have the courage, each of us, to critically examine our beliefs that have been conditioned over years about the superiority of ourselves versus the inferiority of the other? What the other deserves. We have to look at that. How do I feel about myself? I feel superior and feel the others are inferior for other. What do I feel about the other? Everything that we've learned in this country, I have to say, is probably mythology. And mythology holds us in bondage. And so that second verse of that hymn was very good. We can free ourselves. So human completion does mean being ultimately free to be our authentic and our true selves. We don't have to be bound by fears. So in the coming months, here's something I'm going to suggest, that each of us examine our culturally conditioned fears, beliefs, and values that we learned from our families, from our neighbors, from our school, from the media. Secondly, that we critically examine the beliefs we hold about ourselves as related to what we hold about others. Examine the ways in which we can acquire a greater sense of empathy and compassion. That empathy is absolutely necessary. And I would say conversations are the very best way. We can begin our journey to human completion. We have to connect with those, of course, with minds that we like, because as individuals, see, this is an individual project, human completion. As I become more human complete, I relate to others, and then we have a consciousness of group human completion, a collective consciousness. But I also want you to have patience and empathy with those with whom you disagree. And so, finally, and I've said this before, I'm so happy these children are here, that our next generation needs our help. I'm seeing things now that I saw during the Jim Crow period, where white kids would pass on a bus and yell N-words at black kids. We're seeing things that happen in our schools now we haven't seen for years. Our next generation needs us. They need us desperately. And let me tell you why. They're not going to get the history. So somebody has to teach them. If they're not getting it in school, somebody, parent, grandparent, somebody has to teach them. Or they will do the same thing. You see the kinds of things that they're doing now, harassing their little Mexican schoolmate? That's what they know now, because that's what they see. They're only doing what they see adults do. And so we have to work with our children. And so the whole thing we used to do when I was working in education was character education, that socio-emotional thing, helping kids respect others. That's woke. They aren't doing that. So if they're not getting it anywhere, who's going to have to do it? We who are on the journey for human completion are going to have to work with our children. Children are not too young to learn about empathy. They're not too young. They can see something on television or hear something, and you can ask them, how would you feel if that happened to you? What do you think should be done? We must start with our children. I actually just got a chill. We got to save the next generation, folk. But we can only do it if we go through the process ourselves. If we are the models for human completion, then we can save our children. So I make a few announcements. One of the things you can do is you'll come yourself and bring your young people to visit the Blanchard House on May 17th. We'll be open, and you'll get more information. But in Florida, we celebrate not Juneteenth, because that was Texas. In Florida, a month before, the enslaved were freed in Florida, May 20th, 1865. A whole month later. So in Florida, Emancipation Day is May 20th, not Juneteenth. Juneteenth has come up to be some way to make money, okay? Come visit us then. Come and see our new exhibit. We were fortunate enough to be chosen as 11 to Save, one of the museums in the state of the 11 to Save, and it is because of something special about Ponta Gorda. We were said to have a unique sociology because our settlers, the first people here, worked together to settle and develop Ponta Gorda. There was Jim Crow, but they formed relationships, and the Jim Crow customs, they had to do away with that. And so that new exhibit celebrates that. It celebrates our unity and working together and what it can do for us. Also in the fall, I'll ask you to think about joining one of our book clubs. We'll be talking about issues. And so there's a book, actually a very good book written by the Reverend Barber called White Poverty, where he talks about how that is used, how we need to come together. All the people see if what race does is separate us by class, the folks who need to come together. Race is always used to separate them. And on April 7th, which is next Monday, I will be speaking at Copperfish about my growing up in Punta Gorda. So if you want to hear more about what life in the unique sociology was like, come over there. And so, again, just engage folk in conversation. Do not lecture, but first it's our own personal journey. We have to develop the empathy, the compassion, and we let go of all of those beliefs. Personal journey, personal consciousness, connect with others, and we have collective consciousness. That's the only way, folks, we're going to save our children in this society. Thank you.
In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege to this end that your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship are accepted on Sunday mornings and can also be mailed to the fellowship. Payments are also accepted through the Venmo app, and on that app you would write to UUFCC offering. And whichever way you choose to donate, please write down in the check line what the contribution's for. General operating fund, second helping, and so on. So we will now take the offering. And would you like to talk about the music?
We invite you to join us singing Circle Round for Freedom, number 155 in your hymnal. And we are going to be creating a bit of a circle, and we invite you to come out of your pew and join the circle and sing together with us.
What number is it again?
155.
So now the baskets are coming around. While they're doing that, I'm going to talk just a little bit about life of the community. First of all, friends of Debbie are welcome to lunch today at the Chef's Restaurant, which I understand is right up here in this shopping center. And folks will gather between 12 and 12:30. Now, I'd like for you to officially meet the 2025-26 Board of Trustees. And if you will stand, President Robert Moran, Vice President Joseph Fenty, Treasurers Shelley C. She's not.
She's in Africa.
Oh, that's the secretary is Laura A. And trustees are Laura D, Mike K, Laura L, Doug M, and Alex P. Thank you. We look forward to the next year. Our closing hymn today is 146. It's in the gray hymnal, and it's entitled, Soon the Day Will Arrive. There was one announcement that I missed. It's the membership committee will meet on Wednesday, April 2nd at 1:15, and all are welcome. Our closing words are entitled The Stream of Life, and they were written by R. Tagore. The same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean cradle of birth and death, in ebb and in flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages dancing in my blood this moment. Now, as Dick comes forward to extinguish the chalice, please join me in the traditional recitation that's printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideas shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. And now we will, that wasn't the final hymn. This is the final hymn, 1028 in the Teal Book, one of my favorites, The Fire of Commitment. Back on.